Hey Run Junkies, welcome to Runners Without Limits TV. One question I get every once in a while is how do you adjust your training when you live in a hilly area? This is a great question and one I don't often think about much because my neighborhood, my regular running grounds, are pretty flat for the most part. But recently I spent some time in and among the hills of southern Wisconsin, and I can tell you, I thought about this question a lot. So today, let's answer this question and a few that kind of expound on it. A couple of qualifiers usually come with this question. How do I train by heart rate on hills? Or maybe, how do I train for a flat race when I live around hills? Now let's tackle the heart rate thing first, all right? Many of you know that my go-to metric for all of my training is heart rate. I believe it's the most accurate snapshot of how your body is responding in that moment in time to the stress of the training. But when you run up hills, it's harder and your heart rate goes up. And when you run down hills, your heart rate may drop back down again. So if you're trying to stay in a certain zone or under a certain cap, the hills might seem much tougher. But think about it this way first. What is the run objective for that day? Because that's going to determine your effort. Is it an easy run or do you have tempo or intervals? Now, I think the hardest run to master on hills is the easy run. In these cases, it's best to give yourself a little wiggle room on hills by a few beats per minute. But just like with easy running on flat road, slow down or walk when your heart rate goes up too much or you start breathing too heavily. If you do this, then your average heart rate after the run will likely still be between the range you were looking at targeting anyway. So if it's a zone 2 run, you might see that your average heart rate will stay there. Now when running up hills, shorten your stride and get up a little bit on your toes. Push forward with your glutes a little bit. Take your time and concentrate on form. Now I'm gonna leave a great video on hill form in the description. It's not mine and I'm not an affiliate, it's a great video. Now if the hill is longer or if your heart rate climbs too high, then slow to a walk to finish the hill. I will often target a landmark like a crack in the road or a sign or something that is just ahead to at least push myself to that point. Then I allow myself to walk it if I need to. Then just before you crest the top of the hill, then start back down into your easy pace again. Your heart rate will probably drop back down a little and your pace will increase, but you will have another roller one more time to bring it back up again. So descend the hill with control and don't try to make up for the time lost on that downhill. The more often you run on hills, the more your body will adapt. And you might find that over time you can run longer up the hill than before, or your heart rate may stay lower, indicating that cardiovascular adaptation. Translation, running hills often will increase your fitness. Now notice I haven't mentioned pace here. As a metric, pace is not your friend, especially on hills. In fact, it rarely is during training. Looking at your pace on the uphill might just be so disheartening and frustrating. And again, average paces at the end of the run might be helpful, but generally your pace is going to be determined by how you're feeling on that run, how your overall health and stress levels are affecting your run, and maybe even be affected by hydration or sleep. But what about training for a flat race when all you know are hills? That's all you have access to. It's hard to get away from those hills during training and train on flat ground. Well, hills are a great way to build running speed and power. They're basically a strength training session in running form. So even for flat races, you'd likely have some hill workouts on your training plan. They just make you a stronger runner. However, the challenge of flat races is that you don't have the break of that downhill. Yeah, uphills are tough, downhills are fun, but a flat race means that you don't get either, right? Your race effort will be constant with little variety in elevation changes. So for that training, you should include some flat road work. If you have access close by to a flat section of road, then spend 1 or 2 easy runs a week working at a consistent pace throughout the run. Otherwise, the treadmill is perfect for flat road work. Just like if you live in a flat area but you're training for hills, the treadmill's good for that. the opposite can be true as well. Basically, training by heart rate on hills can be done, but it takes practice, which is true for heart rate training in general, all right? But you can make it work if you focus on embracing the hill as the strength challenge that it is. Hilly terrain will make you stronger and build cardiovascular fitness, but it requires us to look at the metrics slightly differently than you would if you trained on flat ground all the time. Bottom line is that some of us just have variable elevation and we can use it to our advantage. The trick is to slow down when you have to, stay in control, and concentrate on form. Hills are great tools for getting stronger, fitter, and faster as a runner. My question for you today is this: do you train in a hilly area? And if so, how have you made it work? Please leave thoughts, questions, comments, and suggestions for future videos in the comment section down below. Please like, subscribe, and tell your friends. Don't forget you can support this network financially over on patreon.com. We'll see you on the next one. Until then, remember, you have no limits. Happy running. Hill, 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 hill. Hill, 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 hill. Hill, 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 hill.